So now that you've discovered this whole new world that you didn't even know existed and all the benefits that come with it, you're wondering, how can I implement this into my children's life? Well, we have 5 kids and we were wondering the same thing. But what's amazing is the bottom line is you just lead by example. So just by doing this work and meditating, we've improved ourselves, and the side effect of that is that our kids have improved too. They're not as grumpy, they don't fight as much, they just seem happier. So it's like it rubs off on them, and it could be too just that we're connected, and because we're feeling better, they're feeling better. So depending on what age you have, my kids range from age 6 to 16. And so they're going to have all different opinions about spirituality and meditation. So for example, my 16-year-old's like, oh, I've tried meditation and it doesn't work for me. But she's only done it 1 or 2 times, and it takes a lot of practice. Now my 6-year-old, he is very spiritually minded. It almost seems like he's somewhat still connected to the universe or a past life or something, and he's just ready to go. And my kids in the middle are all kind of at various stages in between. And that's kind of what you need to read your children and kind of see where they are at. If they're older, it's kind of hard to probably try to implement it. And once again, I'll say lead by example. The younger children also lead by example, but you can kind of implement it into their lives in different ways. If you want to try to start having them do some of the meditations, I know on the Dr. Joe Dispenza website, he has, I believe, 4 different meditations for children. He's got 2 that one has a morning and an evening one that they can do. And then there's another one that's just kind of a generic meditation. I can't remember the exact length, maybe 15 minutes or something. My kids really enjoyed doing them, and they were doing them like every night. But then they got tired of doing the same 2 or 3 meditations. They also have some walking meditations. They have one for younger children and one for older children. They still have yet to do those. I downloaded them almost a year ago, and nobody's quite motivated. They're like, yeah, I want to go do it. And they kind of changed their mind, and I don't want to force this on them. I want them to be open to it. But what I have found works is just finding other meditations for them. The one that they use, believe it or not, every single night is an app called Better Sleep. Now they've got, it's not really specifically for kids, but really a lot of it seems like it's geared towards kids. They have, I don't even know how many stories on there. So every night they do a story. They have meditations on there, and the kids they're not really digging those, but they're kind of like back and forth on them. But those stories, they play one of them every night. And I really like the stories, and they're longer. You don't want them to have just like a little 5-10 minute story. These kind of help them go into, as you know, the longer meditations really kind of get you deeper. And so these stories are kind of neat because they're kind of like mystical and bring you off to faraway lands and use your imagination. But every once in a while, they'll kind of talk about like imagining different things and to feel different things and feel emotions or to breathe. And they're just kind of like stuck in there. It's not like a guided meditation kind of thing. They really do a good job of it. I've looked at a couple of other apps for children. They have a Calm app for kids. That one costs money. I'm iffy. They only have a few free ones, and they seem like they're pretty good. A lot of the apps that I found for children really seem like they're geared toward like 6 to 8-year-olds, and not really some of the older kids. And I think the older kids really can get into the other meditations. Some of my kids, we sometimes just sit down and do a group thing together. We have purchased the formula. And also, if you've ever seen Rewired on Gaia by Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about all of this stuff in an easier to follow format. The formula was okay for the older kids. The younger kids kind of like the Rewired. We still haven't completed the entire thing with them because they were kind of like, we didn't want to really force it on them. But it was very interesting to them to watch. The Rewired has a lot more kind of visuals and stuff in there. And we wanted to kind of prepare them, hoping to bring them to an event. We found out recently that you really have to be 13 to attend an event. I know I've seen kids younger, and I asked, well, I've seen like 10-year-olds and stuff, and they said, well, in certain circumstances, the parents will get special permission. I guess if the kid's more spiritually minded, maybe, or maybe if the parents have been to several events. I don't know what the circumstances would be for that. So if you want to bring your kid to an event, keep that in mind. So as for the meditations, as I was saying, the older kids can handle the Dr. Joe meditations, but kind of stick to the shorter ones. My kids are amazing though. I think just their mindset in general, like they've gotten some manifestation journals that they've started writing things down, like I want $1 million or, different things like that. And my 13-year-old son, he is so set on having this like super awesome computer, and he hasn't meditated on it yet. He just is doing it with his eyes open, basically, like knowing he already has it. When you know that, you need to live like it already has happened. And the thing is, too, is he's always looking for it. And then he also wants to have a very successful YouTube channel. And so he's got one, and, it gets some views on it. Nothing like that's just taken off. And I keep telling him, dude, meditate, meditate. When you connect there to the quantum, you're doing good at as living with your eyes open as though it's happened. But you've really got to get into that quantum, and that's when it can happen more instantly. And what's so funny is my husband was talking on the phone with his friend the other day, and his friend was telling a story, and my jaw just dropped. He was on speakerphone, and I'm like, what? So his son, who's 13, he was saying how his son just started, like he did a YouTube, he was trying to do a YouTube channel, and kind of same as my son. Then all of a sudden some video just went viral and has like thousands of views, and now he's monetizing on his channel. Within a matter of like 3 months, he's making all this money. And with that money, he was able to get something he was trying to manifest, was an awesome computer system. And so with the money he got from a YouTube channel, he went to go buy his own computer. And I just thought that was amazing. And I told my son that, and then he's like, I want to do a meditation. And he explained that the son actually did a bunch of like the 15-minute long little meditations, and eventually did the longer, like hour-long meditations. And once he started doing those, he's like, whoa, and he just thought they were incredible. And somehow he manifested it. And, it's just like out of nowhere, something happens. And so my son, 13-year-old son now, because of seeing another kid doing this, he's actually talked to him now too. Seeing him do this is super motivated now, and he's ready to go to an event and all that. So it's really cool to kind of see other kids doing this kind of stuff. I know a lot of people have tried to get together kids groups to get them to kind of meditate together, but anytime I join them, they just for some reason they can't get the momentum going on it. And I would love to do the same thing myself too, but I don't know. Stay in touch, and I'll see what I can do about all that. I don't know. I've got plans and ideas in my head. Working on my own kids to begin with. So what are some other things you can do if your kids just aren't digging meditations? Sometimes I'll just play some kind of meditative music in the house, or some binaural beats kind of things. I like Beatfulness. That's a good app. You can just play some things, and that can kind of get them in a state that they're not even realizing, like subconsciously in the background, it's kind of helping them. I've gotten into books. I'll tell you about some things here in a minute. I've got books and some classes and stuff the kids are going to take or have taken. Books, if you just get some books about mindfulness, that's kind of what they're talking about for kids, is mindfulness. It's hard to really go to the bookstore and find any, and going online is hard because you can't really open it up, so you kind of, it's a crapshoot. You don't know what's good. So I'll show you a few that I've gotten and let you know. Now you can go different aspects on them. You can go the education route, or you can go just the general, whatever, like storybook route. I homeschool my kids, and so with that, I can implement some of that into their schoolwork, which I love that now, because as you know, science and history are kind of not teaching the truth. They're teaching what they think is the truth. Many of you know, history is just a story man has told. It's not all true. And so I told my kids to question everything, just take everything as man's opinion until proved otherwise. Really, you've learned certain things. Like, for example, my daughter the other day was learning about Egypt and how the pyramids were tombs. Well, the pyramids were not tombs. The tombs were like many miles away from the pyramids. So what were the pyramids? People still don't know. But I remember learning that in school, and even my oldest daughter, she's like, they weren't? And I'm like, no, that's just what they thought. They never found bodies in the pyramids. So just little tiny things like that. I've told kids, you know, they might have that in their brain, but then 10 years from now, they may learn something different. They're like, oh, for me, that, you know, I learned things as a kid, and now I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Because sometimes back when you learned, it didn't make sense. But anyway, let me show a few books. I've got Me and You in the Universe. This one is the kids' ultimate favorite one. It's Buddha Cat, Where are the Chakras? It's cute. I mean, even my older kids, it's so basic, but it's just like super cute. The kitty cats are talking about their little chakras and where they're located, and what they do, I guess. Like this one says it helps you build confidence. It's kind of cute. So the kids kind of get familiar with where they are. I am, you know that I am is very powerful words there. Here's The Law of Attraction for kids. This one is just Words in Your Heart. So there's a lot of books out there now kind of like this. We just got one from the library too, about a dolphin named Ripple, and has the ripple effect on making people happy when that dolphin's happy. I wish I remember the name of that book. I should have gotten that one. But there's a lot of books out there. Check your library, maybe check online, and just see. And then if you want to kind of go the science route, this one, The First Book of Relativity, is pretty good, and my first book of quantum physics. So the kids can kind of learn some very simple basics about kind of the science of the stuff. You know, there's so many opportunities out there. This one is kind of like a educational, my first book about genetics. So if they're going to be going to a Dr. Joe event, a lot of this they may have already learned, but this kind of gets deeper so they can understand a little bit more. This one's talking about the electrifying nervous system. Even my younger kids, we were reading this one. It just talks a lot about the brain and just, I don't know, just all kinds of different things in there to kind of help them understand how some of this stuff works, because that kind of gets into the science of how meditation and your brain and quantum works. Now, for my daughter, she's in high school, and this is really cool that I can, since I'm homeschooled, you can even do this just as a summer kind of thing if your kids aren't homeschooled or on the side or whatever. Like for history, history is so hard for me to find for them. This one's Concise World History. So this is very basic history. It doesn't go too deep into, I guess, the politics of the why, because I think that's where history kind of gets skewed. Okay, yeah, this war happened, but sometimes it just skews it a little bit too much. The quantum physics. So my daughter's going to take quantum physics. It's like, well, you know, if I look for any quantum physics books out there, they're just ridiculously way out there. And, you know, she's smart, but like I look at them and I'm just like, what the heck? This one is the one she liked the best, the quantum physics for beginners. She hasn't looked at, like, taken the class yet, but this one's good. And then quantum physics for hippies. This one kind of brings the spiritual into it. And then this was just another one that was kind of cute. This was a father-daughter team, and it's like a comic book version of quantum physics. I think you need to understand a little bit before you reading this, but not too much. And then for her math course, she's really into art, and she's into geometry. And so this was really interesting. This is called Cosmometry. It's a pretty big book. It's by Marshall Lefferts. And I'll tell you about him in a minute, because we actually took a class where he helped in this. And it talks about geometry in nature and the universe. And it's got some great illustrations and things in here. So it's just, I just think that this is math. You know, they talk about, oh, math is so just like not even useful. You know, when am I ever going to use trigonometry? Well, this is kind of useful. I mean, you may not use it, but it's cool to observe the world around you and understand some of the how and the why instead of trigonometry. I don't even understand that. You know, this is cooler. So she's excited about taking this one. So those are just some books. I mean, there's thousands out there. You can do whatever you want, but there's something else that is just, I love this, because I'm like, where can my kids get more of this that I don't know what to teach? And I met a man at an event, and he told me about a class that his son took, and I was super excited, and I went ahead and had my kids take it too. It's an 8-week course, and I haven't seen it offered yet this year. They offered it in November last year and February. We did it in February. And they teach them, it's called Unified Science. It's by Resonance. If you know Nassim Haramein, he's the one that leads it. If you go to the Resonance website, resonancescience.org, they have free classes on there for adults. Some kids could probably handle that, but the kids class was live, and it was 2 hours a week. They had several times to choose during the day to do it, but they had, it was all for kids. There was a few adults. They said adults could join if you want, but it was mostly kids. I enjoyed the class myself, too. I think it was for 13 and up, but my 11-year-old got it. My two youngest, my 9-year-old and my 6-year-old were kind of like, yeah, you know, there's a few things they got, but for the most part, it was too hard. But like their first class, they were learning about like angles and stuff on the pyramids and stuff. They learned a little bit about like the cosmometry that I was talking about, the martial efforts. He actually came on there and talked a lot about this. It was just kind of like the how and the why of the universe. They even brought up like aliens, and a lot of it was like kind of getting the kids to think. They would ask them different questions to think, well, why do you think it's this way? And they never said anything was right or wrong because we don't know the answers. And that's what's cool is they were like, well, do you think this? Like they were asking how were the pyramids built? And all the kids were chiming in, well, you know, I don't think it was logs and stuff. I think that they were using sound to make them levitate, or they were using their minds. Maybe it was aliens, maybe it was giants. So it's so cool to have like all the kids interact with kids all across the world, and all these kids are kind of in the same mindset. And if they're not, like if your kid's not quite in that mindset and they hear these kids talking about that, they'd be like, whoa, that's kind of cool. I never thought about that. So it was really, really cool class for them to take. And then you have lifetime access to those videos afterwards to rewatch. So when my kids are, younger kids are older, I'll probably have them rewatch it. There's another one that's coming up, and you need to sign up right away because it actually starts September 7th. And this is through another website. It is classes.coherenceeducation.org. Now they offer 4 different classes. I think they have one on music. I can't remember all of them, but the one that I signed my kids up for was the Coherence class. And that Coherence class kind of has you like connect with the power of the universe. They are going to implement heart math things into it. They even showed afterwards, like you could go buy a meditation mask. So I don't know, they may be doing meditations. One of the men that taught the Unified Science class is one that kind of helped to put this one together. So I'm sure it's going to be along the same lines. The price, I questioned the price at first. It wasn't a lot. It was like $300 something. But at first I was like, wow. And I'm telling you, it is really, really, really worth it. Because I had to go back and ask my friend. I was like, yeah, are you sure this is worth it? Because I've taken a few of these little online courses and just like, oh, seriously, this is not worth it. But this one to me was definitely worth it, even if I just had one child to take it. I'm excited about that class. They are excited about that class, and they were like, yeah, go ahead and promote this on your YouTube. We are so excited about this class. And they're hoping to offer it many times. And I forgot to ask, but I believe they're going to have the same option to where, like, if you sign up a week late, you can go back and you can review the old classes. Like if you're watching this video after September 7th and you didn't get to sign up, you may be able to go back and review. I know we were able to do that with the Resonance Science, but this one I'm assuming, but I don't know for sure if you can go back. So those are some great things, and I'm really hoping that more of that kind of stuff can be out there for us to have access to. And so let's go to real quick. I'm going to kind of get close to wrapping up here. You want your kid to go to a Dr. Joe event. Only go only have them go if they're ready. Do not force them to go because they will just, I've run into kids that are just like not digging it. Now, if they're kind of like my middle daughter is kind of like, yeah, I really want to go, but I just don't want to waste the money. She doesn't feel like she's ready. If you've got the money and you kind of feel like, okay, I think that they could do it, go for it. She's kind of like going that route, but she's worried because that was like me going to my first event. I was like, you know, my husband wanted to go. I knew he was super excited about it. I was like, all right, I guess I'll try this thing and see what it's like. And now I'm like, whoa, you know, I healed myself. I'm hooked, whatever. So if they're kind of on the edge, just maybe if you've got the time and the money, do it, because it will change them a lot. Now, I know some of you with younger kids, it's not time, and you're like, what can I do? I want to go to more events. My husband and I have to like switch turns or whatever. It's funny, I just talked to my friend this week, and she's a nanny, and she's kind of wanting to switch, she's just tired of doing the same thing kind of thing. And she's like, well, we were talking and saying, well, maybe she could watch some of the kids at the event while parents do the event, because she loves going to the event, but she just can't work it into her schedule. And this would be a way, if she just kind of jumps in the unknown and does that. So if you're interested, you can send me an email, and I can get you her contact information. This is something she's just trying to springboard off and see where it goes. But other than that, just patience with your child. They came here with their purpose, and you are here to lead them and guide them and set the example. Yes, they are your responsibility, but they are their own soul. So be the best example you can be.